Hello, I'm Antiderivative Jill, and this is Indefinite Lunch and Infinite Combinations, number 46. Today we're reviewing the next original series episode in production order, The Return of the Archons. And today I am joined with Scotty R37.
Absolutely smashing.
And he is ready with that. Thank you for joining me today.
Well, thank you for having me here to discuss the original series episode, Return of the Archons.
Yes, this is a really cool episode. And yeah.
Oh, and due to technical difficulties, I'll be playing the part of Pop Culture Curator and Scotty R37. We look forward to Pop Culture's return next week.
Yes, that's right. Pop Culture Curator had to be out. He said, sorry, had to cancel TAS last night, guys. Also unable to be on the panel today. I will be listening. And we miss you already. We miss all of your production insights and your opinions and all of your wonderful thoughts. So,
and I think I have one production issue that I noticed, and I was like, oh, Pop would have got that. So
yeah, he probably would have been more.
Mm-hmm.
And also PvP's at work. So, and yeah, and he's asking about the TAS. TAS also had to be canceled.
Postponed. Admiral Teague is here.
Yes, that's right. We'll be continuing that next week on Pop Culture Curator's channel, which just means more time that we get with the animated series before it's gone for good. Yes. on the channel. We'll always have it. We can always rewatch it whenever we want. Admiral Teague. Oh yeah.
No, there are going to be things that I'll revisit about the animated series episodes, but Bem is not one of them.
He's a colony creature.
He is a colony creature, though. I respect his species.
Admiral Teague says, if my leader had hair as weird as Landry's, I'd align with the Archons as well.
Yeah. Well, and it's so weird because today there was this big announcement from DC, and they showed James Gunn, and I had just watched Return of the Archons, and Landry looked like James Gunn. I thought it was funny.
Oh, that is funny. Hello to Franco Walker, Edge of Time. He says beer, not just for breakfast anymore.
True story.
Gorilla's Random Thought said, oh, you were going to start. Yes, I'm sorry. I got held up. I have my daughter here today, so if she needs me, Scotty will be here with you guys.
I'll do my best. Thank you. Hey, Herc, hey to Poopus.
Hey, you've made this joke before. Last time someone was this late, my daughter was born 9 months later. I still don't get that joke, really. I mean, 30 minutes is not 9 months.
If you conceive in the morning, then the morning sickness can happen almost immediately.
Yeah.
Naturally, that's not scientifically backed.
No, it's not. It's not. No. It lasts. Here, the secret is that the morning sickness lasts the whole damn pregnancy. It's just degrees of it. Franco Walker says he gives the episode an A+.
Me too. I did too. And Edge of Time says, I've been listening to punk rock songs turned into lullabies. My favorites are I Don't Want to Go Down to the Basement, Beat on the Brat, and Love Will Tear Us Apart.
With the baseball bat. Needs more perfectly legal substances.
I have the perfect amount. Edge of Time, I have the perfect amount. Franco says, Edge, cool. I've got a CD of Ukulele Quartet doing punk songs. Anarchy in the Ukulele.
Hello to Snorta Poopus.
Poopus.
Hubert. Oh, and I have stream elements today. That's good to know. Admiral Teague says, in this episode, Rhaegar's friends are 2 Organians. One of them is in For the World is Hollow, and the other is in City on the Edge of Forever. / Edith Keeler must die. Oh, the alternative name for City on the Edge of Forever. He's the bum who finds Bones' phaser. Oh, yeah, the one who makes Bones remember or think about how people are stitched up and stuff. And Herc 130 is here. Hello, Herc 130.
Hey, Herc.
And lemon pie.
Lemon.
Sean Carter says, joy and happiness to you. Here for the festival, eh?
And tranquility.
Peace and contentment.
The body is one. Like, that's the new ASMR for the channel. If you want an ASMR, you just have to chant the Landrew. Peace and tranquility be with you. You are the body. Hello, Fred. Hagar has rooms. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah. No,
When we get into
I would
it,
get
maybe.
absorbed so quickly just because I'd be laughing at. Okay, Admiral Teague says, yeah, James Gunn is Landrew with some facial hair and an ironic t-shirt.
Mm-hmm. Totes.
And so, for reference to production notes, some of the facts I share will be from Star Trek 365, the original series by Paula M. Black and Terry J. Erdman. And the idea to use this text comes from Raquel Briggs, who is featured on the Clobbering Times channel. So make sure you guys read her book. And I'll put the link into it in the chat. Really, really great stories. I think I've read them all.
Outstanding. And apparently there was just something overcome that she can ship hardcovers to Canada now. It was an obstacle that she was trying to overcome and apparently achieved.
Oh, right. Okay. I said I think because I haven't read the last two because there's an extra story and then I'm still in the middle of Paul. So once I finish reading them all, I'm going to do sort of half reviews of some of the stories.
Nice.
Because they're really good. So this episode first aired on February 9th, 1967. The story by credit goes to Gene Roddenberry, and the teleplay goes to Boris Sobelman, which is the first and only time he writes a teleplay for Star Trek. And this story was almost chosen as the pilot for the series.
Which is interesting because there are a lot of hardcore Starfleet concepts that are introduced into this episode.
There are. You're right. This is actually one of those episodes where I don't mind if you jump around a bit because it's great to talk about the themes and ideas, and it's difficult to do that without just going straight into what's going on. So, I
agree with you in terms of the presentation of the episode as well, is that we're just sort of dropped on a planet with Sulu and O'Neill, and we don't know what's going on, and then we're introduced to the cast, and then we're introduced to some of the more, some of the rules, some of the ways things work. Like, this is all about is there a shields? Yeah, there's a shields. We can't beam you up without shields, or with the shields up. There's prime directive. There's
no beaming without shields. I missed that bit.
Because the shields are up because of the heat beams. If I'm incorrect, I will stand corrected.
You're right. The shields are up because of the heat beams. But is that why they can't beam up?
I thought Scotty said something.
Yeah, you might be right.
I could be, but I could be wrong as well.
Oh, hello to Not Brian.
Hey, Not Brian. Good to see. And James Caserta, good to see you as well.
Mm-hmm. Admiral Teague says the Prime Directive is mentioned for the first time in this episode, and Kirk finds a way around it in one sentence later. Yes, of course.
Perfect. I'm glad it just, love it.
Mm-hmm.
And Kirk doesn't find a way around it. Kirk talks to Spock, and Kirk and Spock are like, makes sense. Let's continue. And with Spock's backing, I'm willing to accept it. It's not just a hand waving away. And
it is, and it makes sense. Mm-hmm. And we'll get there. And so this is the first thing I have from the book. From the Star Trek 365 book, the people of Beta 3 believe Kirk and company to be Archons, the name collectively given to the survivors of the Archon, a Starfleet ship that Landrew destroyed 100 years ago. The name Archon doesn't really fit within Starfleet's traditional pattern of the ship nomenclatures. Most often, The starships mentioned in Star Trek are named after historic naval vessels. The Enterprise, for example, is one of the top-of-the-line starships designed for long-range exploration, among them Constitution, Constellation, Defiant, Endeavour, Excalibur, Exeter, Hood, Intrepid, Lexington, Potemkin,
Yep.
Republic, and Yorktown. Archon, however, is a Greek word that means ruler, containing the same root as monarch and hierarchy. Not really a snug fit within a fleet dedicated to peace and exploration. Why the anomaly? It was apparently a bit of whimsy on the author's part. The story for The Return of the Archons was written by Gene Roddenberry, the same Gene Roddenberry who, while in college, belonged to a debate team called the Archons. And while I was reading that, several people joined the chat. So yeah, Gene Roddenberry was in a debate team called the Archons, and that gave us our ship name.
Well, hi to Mr. Brown Alliance.
Yes.
And
Hello.
yeah.
Hello, Mr. Brown.
Yes, there are heat beams. They are stressing the shields so much it's drawing too much power to warp out. Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, so the orbit's degrading and the ship's falling into the planet, just like the Archons did.
But it sounded like Landru pulled the Archon out of the sky, and Kirk even says,
Mm-hmm.
"Is there enough power here to do that?" And it's like, "Yep."
Yeah, well,
we'll get there.
I think it's the same thing that's happening to the Enterprise.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, how else do you pull a starship except to make its orbit degrade and force it to crash?
Like, you're not wrong. I just always imagine something like a tractor beam or more deliberate. And I guess, there's nothing more deliberate than shooting heat beams at a spaceship. So,
like, those have to be really strong heat beams.
Yeah.
Bird of Prey. Hello, Bird of Prey 5. Kapla.
Kapla. Oh, did I see Affinity? I saw Affinity.
You did. You saw Affinity. He's Mr. Brown Alliance is cycling and listening. That's cool. I always hear about people driving and listening, but bicycling and listening. That's cool. That's really neat.
The snowbanks would impede my progress today.
It's even relatively cold here compared to normal.
And that has been the weather.
Yeah. In South Texas, it's in the 30s. That's not normal for us.
Oh, maybe he's stationary cycling.
Anyway. Oh, that's true. And Lemon Pie says the chat is bursting with folks. I know, right? This is such a great episode and fun to talk about. And Admiral Teague says Archon is a contemporary of the Enterprise NX-01. Right, well, they said 100 years ago, so the Archon was a ship from back then.
It was probably named after Captain Jonathan Archer. That's what I heard.
That sounds right.
Yeah. Lenrod.
Hello, Lenrod. Oh, that was a good one. And James Caserta. How do you chat cycling?
Yeah.
Bird of Prey 5 says, I'd shoot down UFOs if we ever get invaded with laser pointers.
This heat beam, it's warm.
Lenrod says, snow doesn't stop me from cycling. I ride to work every day. Oh. And Captain Finity is smoking and drinking coffee. So.
O'Neill.
Yeah, O'Neill. This is our first time that the crew dresses up to fit in with the planet's population.
Well, we don't get a captain's log right off the hop. This is another one of those episodes, kind of like Tomorrow's Yesterday, where you just sort of jump in, and it's like, where are we? What are we doing?
Well, I don't know what we're doing, but I do know where we are. This part of the episode on the planet is filmed in the 40 acres backlot in Culver City, California. And Sulu is down there with another crew member, O'Neill, running away from these ominous figures dressed in long robes with these pipes,
The tubes.
these tubes.
Their
O'Neill
weapons are a series of tubes.
Yeah, they are. O'Neill runs off as Sulu calls for a beam out, but the figure manages to absorb Sulu with his staff.
Well, and I think that this is something that I enjoyed about the emergency beam out, that it wasn't an immediate thing. Like, they still have to warm up the
It took like
transporter.
30 seconds.
Yeah, but you got to find him. You gotta get the right coordinates. You got to make sure you have the right individual with the right. Like, this is. Oh, but then the emergency beam up from Tomorrow Is Yesterday was like what, 5 seconds?
Well, I guess there's a varying degree of readiness.
Yes. Maybe they had someone manned at the transporter room. Yeah. Everybody shows up for this party.
Yeah, Sulu is beamed aboard, and he's completely content as he's been absorbed. So whatever happened to him on the planet still affects him in orbit of the planet. So from this, we know that Landru has a pretty long range, but but we don't know whether or not it extends past orbit or how strong this really is. So there's some great acting from Sulu as he transitions from Starfleet officer to being part of the body, but we don't see much from him after this.
Just a warning. You get one of the characters to say, "Nope, this is bad. Look what it did to Sulu." And they raise the ante on that throughout the episode. The tension does rise.
Yes.
You don't want her to be part of the body.
No, I don't. Matt G just tipped $1.
Hey.
He says, "Oh goodness, golly gumdrops. It's time for anti-derivative Jill. Yay!"
Yay.
Thank you, Matt G. And also thank you for being here today, Susan Dolan, Theodore Kingston,
Teddy,
and Herc130 says 18 inches with 1/4 of ice on everything here in West Texas. It's our Canadian starter pack. I want a refund.
If I were in charge of the weather exchange program, I would offer you a refund.
Yes.
Admiral Teague says, "I think the Archon ship landed. It's 100 years later. When they talk about the Iosians, he's not landing, so it was once standard."
100 years earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you think the ship landed, but they say later that Landru pulled them in. I don't know.
Right. That's why I thought it was more, and there's no investigation for the ship, so maybe it is a thing that it just lost power and then fell to the planet.
It's true that it's vague exactly what happens to the Archon.
Mm-hmm. Todd Michael says, "Good after, Blurg."
And hello to John Rendell.
Hey, John.
James Caserta says the euphoria effect. That's exactly right.
Nearly post-coital.
And then I'd say that counts for the festival too.
Well, yeah, which we will not enjoy.
Dang, the chat is partying today, right? Exactly. It's so cool to see.
It's a good time.
Yeah, okay, so then we get the captain's log. Stardate 3156.2 while orbiting planet Beta 3, trying to find some trace of the starship Archon that disappeared here 100 years ago. A search party consisting of 2 Enterprise officers were sent to the planet below. Mr. Sulu has returned, but in a highly agitated mental state. His condition requires I beam down with an additional search detail.
Oh, and before we go on, and I know I'm going to get this incorrect, and I'm going to do it on purpose, but the what is Lindstrom?
Lindstrom?
Yes.
What about him?
Lindstrom. He was on Falcon Crest.
Falcon Crest. What's Falcon Crest?
That's the show that isn't the one that Todd Michael likes. Anyway, moving on.
That is not illuminating to someone who doesn't know which show
if
Todd
you're
Michael likes.
He likes Knots Landing, but I always make fun of it and get it mixed up with Falcon Crest. So if you're a Falcon Crest fan,
Oh, okay.
there you go.
Hello to Mr. CCDV, who says, I am all about euphoria.
Euphoria is one of my favorite things.
And Captain Infinity wants to know, so where are the red-shirted women at?
I have a funny feeling that might have been something that was part of an original writing, and it would be great if pop culture were here just in terms to hear about the evolution of this plot. But when we get to Festival, I think there's a reason that they were like, no, we can't beam down the women.
Right. We don't have him telling us what's in the Inside Star Trek book about this episode. I would love to hear that.
Yeah.
Or, depending on who writes that particular section of it, if it's...
Well, there is a dangling plot thread with Lindstrom and Rager.
Mm-hmm.
And so we'll address it.
And Lenrod wonders what show they borrowed those Western costumes from. They all look really good.
Bonanza?
And Todd Michael says, Knots Landing is the greatest show of all times.
Told you.
And now Brian says, Falcon Crest is a blast from the past.
And I was afraid for a second that people were going to be like, shut up, Scott. No one cares about Falcon Crest.
I still don't know what it is.
Neither do I, really. I've
John
never
Randall
seen it.
says Falcon Crest, the red-headed stepchild of Dallas.
See, that's a good analogy. Yeah, John Randall.
And Todd Michael says, Viacom, where's our 4K steelbox set of Stats? Wow.
Agreed.
All right. So this has to be the biggest landing party so far, I think. I don't know if there's been a bigger one, but it's pretty big.
All of the transporter pads have been filled. There are only 6 in the room, and this is accurate.
Mm-hmm. So the extras playing aliens on this planet do a great job of acting very creepy, with Spock making observations of their mindlessness and their vacant contentment. And
then the weird creepy guy comes up and says, hey, where you guys from?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and are you here for the festival? Come, I know a place where you can hang out after.
If you want to sleep it off, he says specifically, mm-hmm. you got somewhere to enjoy your hangover.
But when the red hour happens is perfectly described or shown with this lady's face.
Yes. So. And the clock struck 6.
Yes, and so they all turn into animals. Clothing
goes so far as to pull her hair is now flowing. She is not so prim and proper. She is ready to party, as is everyone, from violence to what is implied as some sort of physical action between man and woman.
Yes, we don't really ever find out why Landry wants those under a certain age to go bananas every night, or even if it is every night. I'm not sure how frequently this occurs, but just already knowing that this is a world controlled by an AI, this is a very AI kind of way, maybe, to control both population growth, given the less part, and population culling, given all the violence.
The Purge.
Yeah. Right. And this predicts it. So it must have influenced the Purge. I never saw the Purge.
Neither did I, but I am aware of it. It's one night where for 12 hours, there's no law enforcement or public safety whatsoever. It's just for people to go crazy and do whatever they want. And it lowers crime. Mm-hmm. Throughout the year, no crime. One Purge, crime.
Yeah. So that's what makes me wonder how often Landru has this happen.
But it's never regarded again. And as I mentioned, in terms of the way the story goes, it is implied that it's like the guy who sort of tells them to go to Rager's place to get a room. And then his daughter says, you should go. Yeah, it's great. And then she goes crazy. And the guy who said, go over there, basically mauls the woman.
Yeah. And women also attack men. One woman even attacks Kirk and kisses him. And another crew member has to pull her off of him before they make a run for Rager's house.
Yes. But the only person who seems concerned about that particular aspect of Festival is Lindstrom, who is the, anthropologist? Is he an anthropologist? That's why he stays behind?
Oh, he stays behind at the end. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. His department is probably anthropology. You're probably right.
So, anyway, it is something that goes by the wayside. Pay no attention to the daughter. She becomes less and less important
But
as the
I'm not.
episode goes on.
Yeah, right. Well, Tula is her name.
Tula, my mistake.
Tula. Well, okay. So since I had forgotten all about her until you told me to forget about her. Then I remembered her.
You are of the body.
Oh, cancel your Netflix and give the money to Jill. Yeah, I've already canceled my Netflix. I did give the money to me too. This is science fiction, says James Casser. Lenrod says the only soap that matters is The Young and the Restless.
Too many episodes. I don't know where to start.
And Captain Infinity says Crossroads is more my speed. Meg Mortimer was so hot.
The only Crossroads I know is the one with Britney Spears and Dan Aykroyd.
Her hair is not, dare I say it, scraggly?
No, it was. Yeah, it was all very prim and proper until she pulled it out, and then it was scraggly.
The Purge, Star Trek style.
Yes. That's what I think, yeah.
And so they escape the Purge over here.
And they meet 3 wise men.
Yes, but before we meet them, the book has something to say about the Red Hour.
Yes. Oh, good.
But I want to catch up with the chat. Let's see.
Okay.
Rick and Morty Purge? Oh yeah, the Rick and Morty Purge episode. That was really good. Where Morty really gets into it.
Cool.
I think you missed out by not watching at least 3 seasons of Rick and Morty and then stop there.
Yeah. I've heard.
Grilla's Random Thought says, not to be that butthole, but listening to Jill at 2 times speed after having to pause the live stream, she sounds just like the female chipmunk in Alvin and the Chipmunks. Okay.
We were trying to figure out which one. Was it Brittany?
I used to watch Alvin and the Chipmunks, and I do not remember the girls' names.
I'll look it up.
I'm hoping, I don't know.
Brittany, Jeanette, and Eleanor.
Yeah, I don't remember them.
That's for all the Chipette fans in the audience.
The 3 wise men: Melchior, Balthazar, and Tom.
And Gary.
So yes, these 3 older men are surprised someone is running away from the festival. These are Tamar, Hakam, and Rhaegar.
Mm-hmm.
And I like Tamar. He considers that the Enterprise crew may just have different ways because they're from the valley.
And Tamar is back in season 3 for The World is Hollow and I Have Touched the Sky. And Harry Towns, I never really got a sense of anything, but a lot of these guys were in an episode of The Incredible Hulk. Was
the actor for Tamar in the cage? Or which actor was in the cage? There's some actor in this episode that
John Lormer, yes. He was at the survivors encampment in the cage, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So this is three episodes, my mistake.
Great.
But I did read it. I did read it on the internet. So take it for what you will.
Right. Unless I say it's from the book, then it's not. I'm not vetting the text from the internet. But some of the stuff that I'm talking about is vetted by textbooks on the internet.
I'm more than happy to be wrong. I'm more than happy to be wrong. I want to be corrected. It causes engagement with the audience, and we offer you for you, the people who correct me.
Yes. If you have any corrections, please put them in the chat.
In triplicate.
And if you're watching on the replay, nice comment correction. I would love that.
Mm-hmm.
I like comments. So Tamar is clearly capable of thinking for himself and recognizes and accepts those who are not like him. So that's a clue that he's not of the body, like Haycom is, who is so programmed to defend Landru that the slightest offense towards Landru's operations is taken as a danger against Landru. So Haycom goes to tattletale on Tamar.
Yes.
And it is an insidious form of mind control and thought policing that susses out anyone who dares to do anything except say and do exactly as Landru desires. Any deviation is taken as a dangerous defiance to be quelled.
You have infected the body.
Yes.
That was my Landru impression, wasn't it okay?
It was splendid.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I'm fishing for compliments now. But yeah, so anyway, Mr. Burns here is all angry at Hanar. Is it Hanar? And Tamar. And so
Haycom is angry at Tamar.
Haycom is angry at Tamar. Dropper clapper. Just these are going to be hard names to keep track of. I'm sorry.
They are.
I remember
at first I was
Jar.
like, okay, I'm not going to be able to keep track. These are just all okay. And then I learned their names. I was like, I can do this.
Good guy on the left, bad guy on the right.
Captain Finity says, I second Jill's recommendation, although with my track record of enthusing to Scotty. What did I recommend?
I'm not sure. Was it Falcon Crest?
I haven't seen Falcon Crest.
Well, then you can't recommend it.
Lemon Pie says, I mean Captain. Jill misses it. Captain didn't miss it. What did I miss?
I'm not sure. We missed it.
I missed it, and I can't go back up because the chat is moving.
Yeah.
Jill, would you say this episode has both pros and archons? Is that what I missed? That's awesome.
It's really good, yeah.
And Lenrod says, when I hear Archon, all I can think of is StarCraft.
Nice.
Being corrected is tight. Tight. I haven't heard that word since watching Breaking Bad.
Toit like a toiger. It's all gibberish to me.
Franco said it could be worse. He could have impregnated the body.
You have a case of the baby. But basically, so Kirk and Landing Party are hiding out in Redger's boarding house for the entire Red Hour. What was the Red Hour that was coming from the book, Jill?
It's festival. Wait, what?
Remember you said you were going to talk about the Red Hour from the book?
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. Thank you for reminding me. Without
here?
Okay. So in the book says, it's almost Red Hour. A man on the street informs Kirk's landing party. Then the clock strikes 6, and all hell breaks loose. The people of Beta 3, suddenly cast free from their imposed apathy, erupt into a festival of violent, blissful chaos. 12 hours later, the party's over, and people go back to whatever boring things they were doing before the animalistic shindig. No explanation is given for why the Red Hour takes place, and although it gives the episode an exciting first act, in truth it has little to do with the rest of the episode. Many viewers, however, took the concept of Red Hour to heart, perhaps none more so than comic actor and self-proclaimed Star Trek fan Ben Stiller. In 2001, Stiller named his motion picture production company Red Hour Productions, and under that logo, almost a dozen movies have been released to date, including Zoolander, Starsky and Hutch, and Tropic Thunder. As co-writer of Zoolander, Stiller named the film's white-haired evil fashion czar, Jay Mugatu, after the white-haired ape in the Star Trek episode A Private Little War, and the female character Matilda Jeffries, after Star Trek production designer Matt Jeffries.
Oh, wow. I never caught that before. That's cool.
Yeah, right? That is great.
I remember seeing Ben Stiller at the 25th anniversary gala where they sort of did it like an awards ceremony. It's the one where you see the clip of the cast of Frasier being on Voyager. But Ben Stiller shows up and he says, yeah, you didn't know I was a Star Trek fan. I know them all. I know all the episodes, A to Z, Mr. Atoz in all of our yesterdays. You think I didn't catch that? I caught that. It's a great little bit.
That is pretty cool that he includes very subtle references to Star Trek in his movie.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, back at the Return of the Archons on Beta 3.
Yeah, yeah, right. Like Scotty said, Rhaegar shows them a room with bunk beds. They hang out while the festival goes on, and everyone's rioting and destroying things, probably having sex off screen. Who knows? But at 6 a.m., everyone snaps out of it, and they're peaceful again.
Mm-hmm.
And
I really enjoy this sort of. Kirk is standing up. He's not in bed. He's just sort of dozing. He's standing guard, which is cool because that's what Kirk would do. And I like how Spock is sleeping with his eyes open.
Yeah, well, Kirk doesn't have a bed because everyone else got one, and being the captain, he didn't take one.
Mm-hmm. But I also kind of thought that it was his duty.
Mm-hmm. I like how Spock sleeps with his eyes open too.
Well, and because when Kirk comes back from the window to see everybody stop their hooting and hollering and carrying on, he comes back and says Spock, and Spock like shakes himself awake, so he wasn't just lying there. I was like, huh, I wonder if Spock's just lying there, and it's like, nope, he was asleep.
Mm-hmm. So Tula is distressed from the festival, so McCoy's going to help her with giving her a shot.
Mm-hmm. Sedate her.
Yeah.
More.
But everyone else seemed to be calm and able to carry on. I wonder why this affected her like this.
The speculation, it gets into very touchy subjects, but I think that guy with the bowler hat did some bad things.
You know what? That explains it. Thank you.
It's my interpretation. I don't know if it's accurate, but then yeah, Lindstrom is he's like, that's your daughter. And he's like, he's mortified at what had happened to the woman. That's her. That's the lady it happened to.
Yeah, right. Why didn't you go help her?
Yeah.
So Rhaegar asks Kirk if he and his crew are Archons, considering that they're from a starship. Kind of makes sense that they're calling them that. But how would they know? Yeah.
The legends.
Haycom returns with the lawgiver. So, yeah. See, I don't have as much to say about this episode. There it is.
So
those are the lawgivers.
Sid Haig, who was in The Devil's Rejects and House of a Thousand Corpses, and he was in Jackie Brown. Sid Haig was one of the lawgivers in this episode, according to IMDb.
Sid Haig. Oh, okay. Cool.
Mm-hmm. You don't really get to catch him and confirm it on screen simply because of the hoods, but it is listed. And I'm pretty sure it says uncredited. Nope, first lawgiver credited. So, yep.
And so the lawgivers are here to execute Tamar for just making a joke earlier. Imagine being killed for making the wrong joke. That is the extreme form of being canceled.
Yes.
Canceled forever.
Now, this is the only thing that's really strange about this process. Actually, how do you explain these tubes?
Well,
because it is, as he is disarmed, this is the first time that the lawgivers are going to meet resistance in any way, because everybody else is just like, yes, Landru, we are of the body. And so when Kirk says no, they actually like end up disarming one of the lawgivers, but it can do this. So if it is just a tube with no mechanism, is it a matter of transmitting whatever it is, or is it just, what is that? Is what I'm asking. If you have, yeah, exactly. Franco Walker in the chat says magic. Like
right, it's like a wizard staff. I mean, I do get that feeling of it, but how I do know that Landru communicates telepathically, but telepathy can't conjure a firearm or some kind of like, I don't know. Maybe the people of the planet found some silicon and
well, later on we do get
gunpowder, like Arena,
and this was their gambit. But later on when they find the lighting panel, they say this is far advanced. And so, do you think that the tubes could possibly be technology that is more advanced than Spock's understanding. Like, it's not
Yes,
like, what if it's a replicator tube, but it's made so portable that it can just conjure whatever it needs at the moment?
that makes sense too. When you see the projection of Landru, Kirk comments that he sees no, you don't see the projector, you don't see the mechanisms that make it possible to display that projection. Also, there's this light panel that we see later that we don't know what it is, but Spock recognizes it as being advanced.
He says it's advanced for for Starfleet
Mhm.
technology. So
Yeah.
anyway, Tamar dies.
Yeah, Tamar dies. The lawgiver says you will be absorbed. The good is all. Landru is gentle. You will come to Kirk right after killing a man.
Yes.
Yeah, totally gentle.
And Kirk does the perfect thing and says, no.
No. He refuses. He's gambling and correctly guessing that they won't know what to do with Defiance. He even takes their sticks.
Don't take their sticks away. What will they do?
Oh, right. There's where Spock checks and says, there's no mechanism. So Rhaegar knows where to take the crew so they can be safe, but they have to get through a crowd of absorbed people who march and move and step as they gather debris and weapons and corner Rhaegar and the crew. So they end up having to stun them in waves.
Oh, and I forgot. Big shout out to Mr. Leslie, who's right on the corner. And the other security officer, I forget his name.
The other security officer.
Wait,
Yeah.
I know.
Usually I will get the names of all the red shirts and everything. But I was remiss for this episode on that.
I feel like
I
his
am
name
sorry.
is Eddie Paskey, I feel. Maybe I'm wrong. Eddie Paskey sounds like somebody else.
So, but to ensure that the Beta 3 civilians moved at the same time as each other, pre-recorded drum beats were played on the exterior set and then muted during post-production. Swept up snippets from the cutting room floor. Oh, that's where this information is from. So that's that's from the special features from the Roddenberry Vault. Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you don't have to apologize. I know people like that song.
I like that song. Well,
Yeah.
I guess that's why it's my ringtone.
That makes sense.
Someday I will talk about Red Dwarf.
I like the phaser blasts and how there are little pew-pews coming out from around the people who have just been stunned.
Oh, yeah, the wide beam
Mm-hmm.
and the little red marks. Mm-hmm.
Sounded like a mixing of the genres, but anyway, so people with rocks are coming to bonk on the head, and then they find O'Neill. O'Neill is here, and then Rhaegar is like, "No, don't. You shouldn't take him. He'll betray. He'll betray."
But this is great because Kirk won't leave crew behind just because they've been absorbed. And Lindstrom has the idea to just take O'Neill and run away from the planet. But Kirk still wants to know what happened to the Archons.
But just anytime Kirk asks a question, everyone's like, "We can't talk about it. We can't. They're here.
That's
Landru's everywhere."
That's why it's so easy to go through this episode. Rhaegar leads them to a stony building. Inside, he finds and unwraps this flat panel thing that's right behind his head. And it shines with the light. And he says it comes from a time before Landru, as long as 6,000 years ago. And Spock says it looks like an advanced device. And Rhaegar explains what happened to the crew of the Archon. The body absorbs its enemies. It only kills when it has to. When the first Archons came, they were free, out of control, opposing the will of Landru. Many were killed, many more were absorbed. When he regains consciousness, Landru will find us through him. And if others come... And so anyone who's been able to escape being absorbed works in threes to keep from being absorbed. Mm-hmm. Rhaegar's contact was Tamar, but of course he just died for saying the wrong thing. Rhaegar warns that O'Neill will telepathically communicate with Landru about them if he wakes up. So Bones puts him back to sleep. And so let me check with the chat real quick.
Yeah. Hang on a second. I'm just going to grab a tea. I'll be back.
Oh, okay. And not even the crazy can stop the Kirk's manly vibes from affecting the womans. Yeah, right? James Caserta says, he marries the redhead. Gorilla's random thoughts. Oh yeah, we read this. I sound like a chipmunk if you play me at 2 times speed. I'm aware of this, and I accept this. I'm surprised I don't just always sound like a chipmunk, just in general. So, right?
Oh, and I wanted to say hi to Dark Helmet as well.
Dark Helmet is here. Great.
He was.
So, Captain Finity. Oh, okay. My recommendation was to watch Rick and Morty up until season 3. And that's the recommendation that Captain was talking about.
Oh.
Because season 4 is where they get the time travel wrong. So, Franco Walker says it might have been her first time at the festival due to her age.
It's a possibility.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And that's why she was so shaken by it?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
It does.
Like, these people still regular. As with you, Jill, I don't know how often they do it, but it's been done before. She'd at least be introduced to it at some age. And if it was her first Red Hour festival, whatever.
All of them.
All of
Red
those things.
Festival, purge, whatever you want to call it. It's a time where people go crazy.
Yes. Mardi Gras. Wait.
I've never been.
Neither have I. So I'm casting aspersions.
It's coming up
for
pretty
no good
soon.
reason.
Well, you can ask Clobber Times. He lives right next to it.
Oh, we're not. I've used up all my tickets.
Dark Helmet. Hey, he says, but you all have fun. Oh wait, I missed. Oh no. Could only drop on for a few. Hey, glad to just see you run by, run in, run out.
Glad you could be here at all.
Yeah, me too. So Rhaegar continues to explain that the Archons were pulled from the sky by Landru, invaded the body, and some were able to resist the will of Landru. After 12 hours, Kirk finally calls to Scotty, probably more than 12 hours, who says the Enterprise is under attack by some kind of heat beams that are draining the ship's power, even though the shields are holding, which is really weird. What kind of heat beams could harm the Enterprise, which should be able to stand quite a bit of heat? So we never find out how hot Landru's heat beams are. But they give Scotty so much trouble that the orbit will degrade in less than 12 hours.
Yeah, it's an interesting power allocation that they have going on. I agree with it. Like, it makes sense in terms of such an advanced technology attacking shields today and saying, okay, we can withstand this, but we gotta transfer some energy away from engines.
Yeah.
So they're running the engines to make it so the shields hold, so the heat beams don't burn the ship, I assume. Like, I know I'm just reiterating what you said, but the logical progression of everything mechanically makes sense to me.
Sure.
Okay.
It just depends on how hot it is. That gives me the believability of it.
And they do never say. And there is no indication that the hull is overheating either.
But what we do know is that Landru begins to scan Kirk and Spock and cuts off their communications with Scotty on the ship. So that part's clear.
Mm-hmm.
And then Landru appears as a projection. He claims, "You have come to a world without hate, without fear, without conflict, no war, no disease, no crime. None of the ancient evils. Landru seeks tranquility, peace for all, the universal good." And ironically, it sounds a little bit like Gene's Utopia, but achieved in a sinister and clinical way that AI would administer, without individuality and without a soul. And we get the... Oh, yes?
Well, and without creativity, which becomes the crux of the argument that Spock and Kirk employ, is
Yes,
if you
exactly.
restrict free expression, then your population will die.
And that's precisely why you have to talk about the episode out of order, because it's all relevant altogether.
Mm. Yeah. Well, but the thing is, and as you said, it's like every time we ask a question about Landru, everybody's like, no, 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 because we do have to wait for the ultimate exposition dump at the end, which is
Mhm.
totally satisfying for me.
Oh yes, it is satisfying to watch, but in podcast form it doesn't work. So we
Mm.
had to start with it. And we get direct influence for the Borg. You can hear it in the dialogue here in this dialogue.
Absolutely.
He says, "You will be absorbed. Your individuality will merge into the unity of the good, and in your submergence into the common being of the body, you will find contentment and fulfillment. You will experience the absolute good." So,
Your technological and biological distinctiveness will add to our own.
yes, resistance is futile.
Yeah, well, you will be absorbed.
Yes. So that is definitely the direct influence. So captain's log, we had to get the next captain's log. Stardate 3157.4. The Enterprise, still under attack by some sort of heat rays from the surface of Beta 3, is now being commanded by Engineering Officer Scott. The shore party has been taken by the creature called Landru, and the notes say that this is the first time Scotty takes the con as commanding.
Nice.
Mm.
That makes sense. Like based on the production order, that makes sense because I'm trying to think of when he would have done it again, or when he did it
Yeah,
previously.
I just keep seeing him do it on the animated series, so my brain keeps telling me he's done it before, but I'm getting those mixed up.
Yeah. And the more and more episodes we watch, it's like, am I thinking of one I haven't seen recently, or am I thinking one that I just saw?
And James Cassard is exactly right. What Landru is talking about is censorship, banning, canceling.
Yeah.
All of those things are heavy in this episode, very predictive of today's circumstances.
Well, and it's the individuals who mess up the utopia of a collective agreement.
Yes, that's right. And that's why their comments and their content need to be removed.
What? Oh, right. You're taking the advocate of the whack-a-mole.
Yeah, that's yeah, like
Yes.
when somebody says something on social media that the
That's not
body doesn't
acceptable.
like.
We don't like that. You're not of the body. Peace and tranquility be with you. Join us in the ultimate good.
Mm-hmm. Admiral Teague says Ben Stiller's favorite episode of TOS is Way to Eden. So he may have to rewatch the series.
Oh, I don't know. I came up with this thing that's so bad it's good. Like you are entertained, so it's fine. Every now and then I like to put in Way to Eden.
I suppose I'm entertained just thinking of the episode.
Bow, bow, ba-dum, bow.
But we'll see.
The
We'll see how I feel about it when I have to watch the whole thing.
Yes. Well, and
thinking about it vaguely.
And then just speaking of the remaster and the updated special effects, I really like that even though it is said on screen that there are heat beams firing at the Enterprise, because they weren't put in the original special effects, they aren't added in here either. So it's not like a other special edition. It's just, again, trying to spruce up what was already there as opposed to changing the context of the episode itself.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Yeah.
In my opinion.
That is a good opinion. I didn't even consider that they didn't add the heat beams. I just imagined them into existence because they kept telling me they were happening.
Well, I can't see heat right now unless it's fire, and fire can't happen in space. And so, yeah.
Makes sense. Admiral Teague says, because Tula is not of the body, either she's having... Oh, she's not of the body either. So she's having the kind of reaction a normal person would have. Okay, that makes sense. That follows because...
Yeah, but that's also...
Rhaegar is not
of the body, which is really kind of cruel to send Tula out into Festival knowing that she is not of the body. So what's going to happen to her? Did he not tell her what was going to happen? Because now it just seems like you're leading the sheep to the slaughter.
Hopefully he did warn her of what was going to
Well,
happen and that she had to do it, or else they would find out that she's not absorbed and absorb her. That is actually a good point. She's probably not of the body. Thank you, Admiral Teague, for that
then
theory.
that would have been a scarring 12 hours. I'm
Yes.
glad she survived. I hope
Me
she
too.
is.
Thank goodness. The
So
PTSD, considering how often that must happen to her.
well, like I'm thinking it would be like an annual and at the very most like monthly.
So Kirk and Spock wake up in a stone chamber without their communicators or phasers. Landru knocked them out with the hypersonic sound waves. That could have killed them if the waves had been stronger. And Kirk knows the lawgivers can't handle the unexpected well and wants to use that to his advantage, but Spock says that a society so well organized will work out these issues. So this is like how one weapon will work against the Borg once, but then the collective will build a defense against it fairly quickly.
Yes.
Like Spock says, the reaction to your defiance was remarkably similar to the reaction of a computer when fed insufficient or contradictory data. Landru says, you can only be good if you all become one. So McCoy returns, having been absorbed.
So weird to have DeForest Kelly play pleasant and placid. Hello, friend.
Yes. And it culminates in, Kirk is asking him questions. Don't you remember the Enterprise? And McCoy says, ask Landru. He remembers. He knows all. He doesn't say that. He says he knows and watches. You are strange. Are you not of the body?
Peace and joy be with you. Tranquility. We are of the body, friend.
And that's Shatner acting as Kirk, as how Kirk would act as an actor.
Yes.
So it's different from Shatner. Okay. Then the lawgivers return, and having learned from Kirk's defiance before, they're now not thrown off by his defiance, and he has to follow to meet Landru.
And this is kind of a cool like construction of the episode, because we switch from Kirk's point of view over to Spock's, because as far as the audience knows, Kirk is absorbed.
That's right. Well, yeah, for this moment, definitely.
Yeah, it only happens briefly, but we do. It's like, oh no, what happened?
Yeah, and you do believe it.
Yes.
So James Caserta says, Landru, Russia, communism. Yeah. That theme definitely came through my mind too.
Yes. Hippie. Lady Lewis says, hola and good afternoon. Sorry for joining the party late. No, we're glad you're here. It's fashionable.
Yeah, welcome. James Caserta says, we are the Shat.
Are you of the Shatner? Peace and tranquility.
Admiral Teague says, Kirk always talks to the Landru. Al's hologram. AI's hologram. I was like, wait a minute. We're not talking about Quantum Leap.
Not today.
AI's hologram, way past the point of it making sense. Strange how often Spock lets him do it in this episode.
Yes.
Right. Spock keeps saying, hey, it's a projection.
Yeah. But then also, like, he does feed him. It's like creativity. That's the key. Or the good. That's the key. And so I was getting the sense that Spock was like, I wonder what he's going to do. Like, there was very much, all right, you're in charge. You do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So then Marplon relieves this other lawgiver to, and like you said, we think that Kirk is absorbed here.
Yes.
in this scene. And so Spock tries to mind meld with McCoy, but the mental manipulation is so strong that Spock cannot get through. And Lindstrom is saying everything is ridiculous, all the 1800 stuff, but Spock tells him that they command powers that we can't understand. And now it's Spock's turn to meet Landru.
Yeah, and yes, this is William Shatner doing his best Placid.
Yes, Kirk behaves as if he's absorbed, but it turns out Marplan's just faking it and allowed Kirk and Spock through the machine without being changed. Since they can just pretend to have been absorbed, that calls into question exactly how the telepathy works between Landru and all his human body parts, or humanoid. How he's fooled by those who aren't connected to him is something I'm not sure of, but it is pretty lucky, especially since Spock is not as good of an actor as Kirk is. Nimoy is a great actor, but Spock, having suppressed his emotions, gives off a very ungenuine looking smile.
Yes. Well, he kind of seems. I think he looks almost amused that he has to say this stuff. It's just like, no, this will be easy. I can be dumb.
And he succeeds.
He does.
Perfect for Spock, though.
Yes.
This kind of reaction. Marplan is the first alien of the planet to officially ask Spock for help for his people, and gives him the phasers and later the communicators too. And determines this. Spock determines this. This is a soulless society, Captain. It has no spirit, no spark. All is indeed peace and tranquility. The peace of the factory, the tranquility of the machine. All parts working in unison. Kirk says, and when something unexplained happens, their routine is disrupted. And so let's see here. Admiral Teague says, they didn't call them the betas by mistake now, did they? Franco Walker says the Shat should meet the half.
Absolutely.
The Hoff.
I wonder. Come on.
Hmm.
I would love to know if David Hasselhoff and Shatner have been on screen together. That's something I will investigate in the future.
Okay.
Yeah.
J.D. Lewis says, I love the irony of McCoy's later lines. Blessed be the body and health to its parts. And James Caserta continues, more themes of the episode are very heavy brainwashing and indoctrination. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Admiral Teague says, Sulu is a little less under Landru's control because he's real far from Landru's 5G emitter. And actually, I need to go check on something, so I will be right back in just a moment.
Absolutely. Excuse me. Yeah, but it is an interesting thing because when after Kirk gets back from being absorbed or faux-zorbed, he calls up to Scotty and says, "How's Sulu doing?" And put a guard on him and watch him. And like Scotty's like, "What are you? No, on Sulu?" And it's like, "Yep, you gotta." So there's as long as he's placid, I think he's still under the control. And if Sulu could get out of sickbay, then he might do something to assist in the descent of the Enterprise.
That's what I was wondering, like, because Sulu is still affected, even though he's so far away from Landru. Like, how far away do you have to be from Landru before he stops affecting you? Is what I would love to know.
I would as well.
But those are my favorite episodes where I want to know more than the episode could ever provide. And so I only left to go check, and it turns out I'm not getting interrupted because she's asleep.
Shazam!
Yeah.
She is of the body.
She's in peace and contentment.
And tranquility, my friend.
J. Lewis says, 2 years later, Torrin Thatcher would be reunited with Nimoy in the Mission Impossible episode, The Numbers Game.
Nice.
That is cool. Thank you, J. Lewis. So
And-
now, oh yeah,
And Torrin Thatcher being the actor who played Marplon. Yeah.
a Marplar. Yes, the guy at the machine.
Marplar? Is it Marplar?
Um,
This planet has stupid names.
Is it Marplar? I don't know. Marplon.
Yeah,
Marplon.
Marplon. Imagine saying that in the middle of coitus. Marplon.
Okay, so
Moving on.
now Spock is sure Landru is a machine controlling the people, so Kirk concludes Landru must die. So Spock says, Captain, our prime directive of non-interference. Kirk says, that refers to a living, growing culture. Do you think this one is?
No answer.
So this episode is the birth of the prime directive by name.
Yes. Yes. Our directive of non-interference.
Mhm.
Does he say prime directive of non-interference, or does he just say directive of non-interference?
He says prime directive.
Bingo. Awesome.
Non-interference.
Love it. And I'm
Mhm.
glad that it is so simply explained
Yes.
in the 23rd century.
Yes, and no, you're right. It is a judgment call, but I think in this case it's the right one because none of these people are allowed to be what they would be naturally.
Well, and essentially what we've seen so far is that we have a placid contained population who are mind controlled by an AI, and then every now and then they scramble about the planets doing whatever they want for 12 hours because they can't get off the planet.
Controlled by an AI. Wow, that's funny that this episode is right next to the next episode, which is going to be A Taste of Armageddon, which is also a planet controlled by an AI.
But it's more of a tool. It's not under the thumb. It's just been made the most clean version of warfare. But we'll discuss it
Yes.
next week.
Yes, next week. But I was just briefly excited by the juxtaposition of AI making decisions for humanity or
Yeah.
aliens who are like us.
Very computer-centric episodes.
I like them.
Yeah.
Lenrod says heat beams make sense as an early directed energy weapon, as that's what we have now.
Outstanding. Well,
Kirk says, screw the prime directive.
he just says it doesn't apply.
Yeah, right. He says it doesn't work here. Admiral Teague, and also plus that guy asked for help. Anytime in TNG when they ask for help, it's like, okay, there it is. We can help you now. Admiral Teague says, anyone think Red Hour is to let the Archons vent their emotions as they are controlled the rest of the time?
Yes. I
That
do.
makes sense. Frankel Walker says, Admiral, I think you're right. Otherwise, Landru could lose control over them.
It's a pressure release,
Mm-hmm.
as I saw it. But yeah, good call, Admiral and Franco.
Yeah, but McCoy overhears all of this planning to destroy Landru, and
You speak in curious whispers. Oh wait, no,
he
liar!
does. Oh
Get out
yeah,
of the
no,
body!
I skipped that part. That's true. That's the first thing he says. At
Hmm.
first, he says, "You speak in strange whispers," and so, but Kirk is able to convince him that he's of the body, and he walks away to plan, but they don't. Nobody's on the lookout for McCoy, so he just sneaks up on him and overhears him.
Like, what is Lindstrom even doing? Where did Leslie
Right.
and other guy
No,
go?
I have no idea.
Sorry,
Right?
Hadley.
They only have one. Well, I'm just gonna call him red shirt because I don't know what colors they wear in this episode.
Did you watch it in black and white?
No, I mean, I mean, what color their uniforms are? Or what,
Oh, right, because
what
no
their
one's wearing
rank is.
uniforms. No one's wearing uniforms. No, Lindstrom's a blue shirt, and then Hadley and Leslie are red.
Okay, great.
I don't know what
Hadley and
O'Neill is.
Leslie, they're missing.
Yes,
Me neither.
unless they've been
So-
absorbed. I don't know.
I don't know either. Yeah, I guess. Well, that happens a lot in these episodes where the red shirts or the extra characters kind of disappear for no reason. But
Well,
we
like-
don't know what happens to them.
Yeah, it's like in Miri when Hadley and Leslie went missing. They went to go check out and find out where the kids were.
Yeah, and they walked out of the episode.
Then they were gone forever.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so McCoy accuses them of not being in the body and calls for the lawgivers. And so this is where the fight happens.
It's not much of a fight.
No, but interestingly, Spock doesn't use his Vulcan neck pinch here.
And Kirk has a great explanation for it, and I was wondering if this is something that was added in, and it's like, yes, Mr. Nimoy, we know that you've created the character of Spock, and he does mostly Vulcan neck pinch, but can you just punch someone for this episode? And he's like, fine.
Is that the reason?
No, I'm making all of this up.
Like, I was trying to come up with the reason. Maybe their necks are protected or something.
Well, no, and I just like
Landrew.
Yes, Landrew made it so that their vertebrae are stronger. The nerve bundle at the base of the neck would not be pinchable. But no,
that
I like.
Doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't, and I like how Kirk does say, "Little old-fashioned, don't you think?" And so there is a little bit of an aside, a joke based on what Spock usually does. Well, sometimes a lampshade. It's a funny joke.
It is. And Kirk has to take down McCoy with the sleeper hold.
And this is where this is where he says, "Keep an eye on Sulu," right?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, right. Put a guard on Sulu, but I mean, it's kind of like an afterthought at this point. It's already the episode's almost over.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, we just got to go unplug Landrew. It'll be great. It's going to be a fun time.
But also, Kirk and Spock take out the lawgivers and take their costumes.
Yes. And sorry, go ahead.
No, you go.
I was going to say when we they do look a little short to be stormtroopers.
Okay.
That is, as soon as I saw that, I was like, you just went from like a 6'5" guy to you guys.
So then Marplan shows them where to find Landrew in the Hall of Audiences with these pillars.
6 of diamonds or 7.
Oh.
It's a card. It's a playing card door.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he needs to open it.
He will. J.D. Lewis says the red hour seems to be a darker precursor of the purge. After all, the purge happens only once a year, and we don't know how often the red hour occurs.
Yeah, we don't. And I wish I did. James Caserta says, I thought the red hour happens every night. It could, but I'm not sure.
I was kind of thinking that it was a special event.
Mm-hmm. Right, because it's called the festival. You don't have a festival every day.
Yeah. And Teddy says, keep an eye on Sulu. Don't let him tweet. Keep him away from his phone.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. Well, you could just mute him too. It works. Admiral Teague says, Kirk, as always, passes out last when the hypersonic burst hits them.
True. I did notice that in the way that Shatner was sort of bent over the end of the table by the chair. It looked like he was keeping an eye on when Spock would stop moving, or when Leonard Nimoy would stop moving. And he's like, okay, it's my turn.
And Tyron Lethbridge is here. Hello, Tyron. He just got here. He's cooking and lurking.
Chef's kiss.
Cooking for Rennie. Oh, how sweet. So, oh, by the way, let's see. Rhaegar explains who Landrew used to be. There was war, convulsions. The world was destroying itself. Landrew was our leader. He saw the truth. He changed the world. He took us back to a simple time, a time of peace and tranquility. And so this is part of the episode where I just read a bunch of dialogue. Kirk says,
so did they.
You said you wanted freedom. It's time you learned that freedom is never a gift. It has to be earned. Come on, we're going to find Landrew. And so Rhaegar has been helping the entire time, but only now he goes crazy and decides to be absorbed. And finally, Spock remembers that he can neck pinch, and he uses it for Rhaegar.
Yes.
Landry's had enough of Kirk and has decided he must die, and the memory of the rest must be wiped clean. Kirk, but he probably means, I think he probably means the entire Enterprise crew, but he doesn't say it explicitly.
Well, that seems to be the plan. The heat beams seem to think that he's trying to shoot a starship out of the sky. So
Yes, so the whole crew must die.
Yep,
Or
they
be
gotta go.
absorbed.
Right.
And wiped. So Kirk decides to find out what's happening to make the projection, and he shoots the wall, revealing the giant computer.
Interesting shape, too. Does this not immediately remind you of the Guardian of Forever?
The shape of the hole in the wall?
Yes.
Sure. Yes,
Okay.
it actually did remind me of the Guardian of Forever, but I was like, oh, this isn't the Guardian of Forever. Stop thinking that. But I like that you thought that too. And so the computer has some nice blinking lights that flash.
It's got a little doodad that goes from left to right, up and down, left and right. It's, yeah.
Like Spock says, it's a machine. The whole
Yep.
society is a machine's concept of perfection,
Blinking
peace,
and flashing.
harmony. And Kirk says, but no soul. Admiral Teague says, when they attack the lawgivers, Spock punches and beats them, all promoting Kirk to comment. Isn't that a bit primitive? Oh, yeah. Oh, prompting, rather.
Yes.
Promoting. Yes, that's right. That's exactly what happened. Teddy says, Kirk must die. I'll get him in generations. Oh, no. Oh,
Brit-
Teddy, really? Oh.
Bridge on the captain.
I said that with the wrong intonation and everything. Franco Walker says, it's got all the upgrades.
They spared no expense.
They decide to destroy the computer,
But
it disables their weapons first.
with a high-pitched woo.
Yeah, and maybe someone could try to pull the plug of the computer, but
Well, I get a feeling that if you were to walk through the hole in the wall to get to Landru, then Landru's going to do that the supersonic thing again.
Yes, exactly. But that was exactly what I was thinking. That Landry would kill them first before they got close enough to turn it off. And if, especially, the supersonic thing that answers the question easily.
But they do, like, it's a weird thing that Landru would be like, speak your piece, essentially. Like he's almost pleading to say, don't you understand what you're breaking here? Mm-hmm. And Kirk says, yes, I do. Break it.
Yes. And we just learned of Starfleet's Prime Directive, so now we get Landru's, which is whatever is good for the body. And so that's what Kirk focuses on. Since Landru is dead and has no soul, he cannot be good for the body. He argues the body is dying, you are destroying it.
Without individuality, there can be no creativity. Without creativity, a society grows weak and dies. You are causing
the fault is yours.
The fault is yours. What is the directive?
Are you aiding the body or are you destroying it? Asks Spock.
I put to you. And then I like how Landry's like, do you have a question, sir? All right.
Yeah, and then Landry says, I am not programmed to answer that question. And Kirk convinces Landry that these traits make it evil for the body, to convince it to destroy itself. Everywhere is saying this for the first time. Places are saying this is the first time that Kirk outlogics a machine. But I remember the first time he sort of does this in What Little Girls Are Made Of with the androids, convincing Roger Corby that he's been in the wrong for all of his murder.
Yes. However, Roger Corby didn't consider himself to be an android. He thought that he was Corby's consciousness. And so maybe...
Right. It was transcendental. It was transhumanism.
That's it.
So
So,
he wasn't a complete computer. So this is the first total computer.
like, this is the first ENIAC or UNIVAC that he's talked down from controlling an entire society.
Yes. And the reason why I don't have as many slides at this point is because it is a testament to the episode drawing me into these particular scenes. And that's how great this is shot. This is why these episodes must be rewatched over and over again because they're so wonderful and beautifully constructed stories.
Absolutely. And striking. I was admiring the cinematography of the episode as well. There's some great framing that goes on.
Mhm.
And also, let's be honest, for most of the rest of the episode, it's just this shot and then a picture of Landru at differing states of disrepair.
Yes. And that's what I would have gotten, but
It's
I
cool.
was having too much fun watching the episode, basically. Rennie L says, "Hey Jill and Scotty, hubby is making yummy stuff in the kitchen while I work. He is happy he caught the stream."
Yay. Well, it's good to
Uh,
see you, Rennie, and good to see the Australian.
Yeah, I'm happy you guys caught it too. And and Admiral Teague says that's probably why Lindstrom remains behind.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, actually, J.D. Lewis says, fun fact, in earlier drafts, Tula was created to be a romantic interest for Lindstrom. But that subplot was edited out in later drafts, explaining why Lindstrom was left behind at the end of the episode. Thank you, J.D. Lewis.
Lindstrom. Thank you, Lindstrom. Jill has had an embolism and is now referring to random crewmen from episodes as if they're in the chat. We're going to recommend hydration.
Thank you, J.D. Lindstrom.
Mr. Lewis, I'm sorry for her behavior. She is not of the body.
Admiral Teague says, when they attack the launch givers. Oh, yeah, I read that one.
Yes.
I did. And James Caserta says, Kirk is a pixelated image. Everything in this screen is a pixelated image.
Oh, got him.
My computer.
Technically, we're all staring at pixels.
Teague says 10 seconds after they destroy Landru, they just let Sulu take the helm.
True.
If I were Kirk, I'd tell Sulu to take the rest of the day off to be safe. I know, and he was so excited to be back at work too. You're just a little bit too happy.
He's too happy from his being taken over by an AI that just made him happy. I'm so happy I'm not as happy as when I was happy. Now I'm a little frustrated that I have to go back to work on this same day.
Okay, so Marplon says, is this truly Landru? And Spark says, what's left of him after he built and programmed this machine 6,000 years ago? When Kirk says, you must create the good. That is the will of Landru, nothing else. And Landru says, but there is evil. And Kirk says, the evil must be destroyed. That is the prime directive. And you are the evil. Landru says, I think, I live. But Kirk counters, you are the evil. The evil must be destroyed. Fulfill the prime directive. And so that's when Landru decides, you know what? Yeah, I am evil, I guess.
I guess
I'm evil for the body. So smoke starts to rise out of the base of the main computer bank. And Landru is destroyed.
Kirk says, my mama don't like you, and she likes everyone. So you should go and love yourself. And Landru does.
Oh, I like this one. Read this one for me.
Sure. Oh, hang on a second.
It's the last thing Kirk says to the lawgivers.
Oh, you're going to make me say Marplon? Okay, so, well, Marplon. Well, I can't make it realistic. So, well, Marplon, you're on your own now. I hope you're up to it. And you can get rid of those robes. If I were you, I'd look for another job. Kirk to Enterprise, come in.
Oh, the transcript. Forgot the ing on looking. And I didn't grammar check it. Sorry about that.
Oh, no, it's fine. I had fun.
With Landru destroyed, the heat beam is gone, and so is the danger to the Enterprise. Sulu is back to normal.
Everybody's sort of
We
standing there
suppose.
going, way to go, Kirk. You did a good job. And there's Kirk leaning against the helm like, yeah, I did. Yeah, I did.
But here's a great part of the episode that I appreciate. The last captain's log. Stardate 3158.7. The Enterprise is preparing to leave Beta 3 in Star System C-111. Sociologist
Oh.
Lindstrom is remaining behind with a party of experts who will help restore the planet's culture to a human form. And so that's fantastic that they don't just destroy the computer and leave. They leave behind someone to help them learn how to have a regular humanoid existence in society, which is very important. Just like how they left teachers and stuff for Miri.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out it's going well. People are having normal domestic fighting instead of murderous, lust-filled
Purges.
destruction. Purges.
Yeah.
I don't know. It'll be fine.
Should be. Just someone has to tell them what to do when they're not under the control of Landru. Because again, I think that they're scrambling like chickens with their heads cut off because they are free and they can't escape the torture that is about to regain them in 12 hours.
Yeah.
That's part of the reason why they purge. And Landru knew that. And so he allowed the release of that societal pressure. But now they'll have to come to grips with their animal side and their logical side. Wouldn't you say, Mr. Spock?
Yes. Very well put. And Renier is proud of you for behaving, Scotty.
Thanks, Rennie.
Not only behaving, but coming up with a wonderful diction to describe what is to become of the people of this planet.
McCoy's
And-
still in sick bay, though. He took the rest of the day off.
Well, naturally, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Then Spock admires the efficiency of the computer directing the lives of millions, countering Kirk's argument that such a leader has no soul or compassion. And Spock continues, predictably metaphysical. I prefer the concrete, the graspable, the provable. And Kirk says, you'd make a splendid computer, Mr. Spock. Spock says, that is very kind of you, Captain.
Which is kind of nice.
It is. It's nice.
When McCoy says it, it's not a compliment. When Kirk says it, yeah, thanks, man.
Mm-hmm. and likewise, whenever Kirk calls him what he's done human, it's likewise an insult.
Yes.
So Lindstrom lives. The will of Lindstrom. The
The
power
will- This was actually one of the plots of the Wrath of Khan. It was going to be the lucidity of Lindstrom.
Mm-hmm. The power of Kirk compels you.
I need an ensign and a commander.
And Matt G says hi to Rennie with bacon.
Hey, Matt G.
Because Rennie is Team Bacon.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm sounding like I need some bacon myself.
Mm-hmm. I just bought 2 packages of bacon.
Can I borrow one?
Yes.
The shipping will kill you.
Yeah, that's true. It might last though. It's full of salt.
I don't know. There's closer places I can get bacon, but thank you.
That makes more sense. You should do
Yes.
that. James Caserta says he has a private little red hour.
Yes. I'm looking forward to that episode too. That's gonna be a social commentary and not much plot. More anyway, it'll have Klingons. We'll be happy.
Yeah, Klingons. Okay. Franco Walker says, well, that makes a change. They usually just bugger off. Yeah, right? And so that's why this is really neat. This was a pilot because, like Scotty said at the beginning, there are a lot of real Star Trek themes in this episode, namely, the crew caring for other worlds seriously, not just destroying.
Right. And that's something that is brought up in terms of the reckless nature, and they even do it on Voyager in terms of the reckless nature of the 23rd century Starfleet. And so I do like, again, this is one of those episodes of Star Trek where everybody is doing their job. They're doing it incredibly well. I think Kirk is being a super Fabu commander. I know that's not necessarily regulation to call him super Fabu, but like everybody's doing everything right in this episode, and I love it.
Mm-hmm.
These are the people to aspire to be, the ones who can come up against adversity and get out of it.
Yes, I definitely want to be in this future. Admiral Teague says, this is one of my top 5 episodes, but the Roger Corby is my favorite time. Kirk convinces an AI to self-delete. Yeah, so that's how I figure it, but transhumanism I'll buy as an excuse. He wasn't entirely AI.
But that was part of the question of the episode. Was it Roger Corby or was he one of his automatons?
Oh no, he was. He was an
Yes,
automaton.
right. And so, what do you like? Are you willing to plant a flag on whether or not Roger Corby was an AI, or do you believe that he was the consciousness of Roger Corby and thusly not an AI?
I think he was both.
Well, how MasterCard of you.
Dark Helmet says, okay, back. Had to see the shame my daughter has brought into the house.
Okay.
Oh, crap.
Well, that sounds like an emergency. Jill had no time to mute, but she is running away to be a very good mother. I hope that you'll allow a little proclamation from time to time, and thank you. Was it anything similar to that, Dark Helmet? I do not know. Admiral Teague says they can't do Red Hour daily. It's really, really destructive. And I was curious as to who cleans it up. Do the lawgivers clean it up? Do they have a secondary programming? Lenrod says that timing was perfect. We planned it.
Yeah.
It was Dark Helmet, Antiderivative Jill, and myself. We said it precisely 3:04 Eastern Time. Announce, and it worked.
Had to see the shame my daughter has brought back into the house. Okay, that's funny.
But there was no shame at your house, was there?
No.
That's good.
No shame at all. She
That's
just
good.
woke up. I don't know if she's going back to sleep or not, but we'll find out in a minute.
Okay, can't wait.
There's one more thing that the book says about this episode.
Yes.
Concerning destroying Landru. And the quote is, the evil must be destroyed. That is the prime directive. And you are the evil. Fulfill the prime directive. By Kirk. Speaking of debate teams, Gene Roddenberry's debate team, the Archons. Clearly, there was one at Starfleet Academy. James T. Kirk positively excels at using common debate tactics against his opponents, revealing errors or omissions in his opponent's facts and or logic in order to win an argument. This skill is particularly powerful when dealing with opponents of the inanimate kind, as on Beta 3. When Kirk believes Landru to be a powerful humanoid of some sort, he is briefly stymied. But once Spock points out that Beta 3 society has the tranquility of the machine, all parts working in unison, Kirk knows what he's up against. If he can find the computer that's running things, it's a goner, because his glib tongue can easily tie knots in a computer's logic, ultimately confusing it into self-destruction. The Return of the Archons is the first of 4 episodes in which Kirk literally talks a computer to death. He pulls it off again in The Changeling, iMud, and The Ultimate Computer.
Yes. And it's interesting that they omit what our little girl's made of.
It's right. They do omit it because it's transhumanism, I guess. And then, well, they don't talk the computer to death, but in Once Upon a Planet on the animated series, they do convince a computer not to kill or whatever it's doing.
Yes. Was that Kirk or was that Uhura?
That was Uhura who was talking to it most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember. I'll have to go back. Admiral Teague says, have we mentioned Rhaegar is from the show Wild Wild West, and that the planet is in fact Mayberry, like in Miri?
I would say we have now. You're absolutely right. In terms of the credits that Rhaegar held, Harry Towns was in a lot and very prolific through the 60s. Unfortunately, our resident expert in terms of that era is not with us today. I did notice that he was on Falcon Crest and the Incredible Hulk.
Yes, we would
Uh,
have gotten quite a bit more information if Pop Culture Curator were here. We miss him
yes,
dearly.
absolutely. Like he was on the TV series for Planet of the Apes. He was on Ironside. Um, he was in the episode of Kung Fu and
Mhm.
Mannix. Lots.
Lenrod said, I can't believe that Kirk is a master debater. Gorilla's Random Thought says, that sounds like someone needed an ass whooping scream.
Nah,
I don't
nah.
know. What is it? I don't even.
No, don't
What?
worry.
Okay, I don't know what that means anyway.
The
Admiral Teague says,
the exclamation that was uttered was made was a worthy of a response.
oh. Admiral Teague says, the Landru AI has emotions. It's scared. It's calling out to its creator for help. It's sort of sentient.
I found that too, because after Kirk does talk it down, it is like Landru helped me. So I am Landru at the beginning of the conversation. At the end, realizing that it had not been programmed with enough information to deal with something as Landru would have. And he begins calling for his own creator to help me, help me, help me, help me. It was very disconcerting when I watched it this
He
morning.
also says, I think I live.
Does he?
Mm-hmm.
Then that's also, so we got a sentient computer.
Yes, and Kirk does not realize the sentience and so destroys it. That is also an.
But that's also an assertion that is accompanied by Spock as well. Spock's aware that the society is being controlled by a computer and disagrees with it, and goes into more depth when we encounter the M5 in Ultimate Computer. He says, "I have no desire to serve under a computer. I admire what they do, but that they are not in charge."
Mm-hmm. Right, he does. He does admire the computer at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's one of my favorite episodes.
Me too.
Computer.
Yes.
And Admiral Teague says Landru has a defensive weapon everywhere except in the room he is stored in, so Landru can be dumb too.
I would counter with that there is obviously he can disarm the devices. I think he could have done the sonic, but he didn't think that Kirk and Spock were a threat, or even Marplon. And and so I think that it could have been done, but by the time that Landru realizes that he is in danger, he's already putting so much computer power into trying to counter the logic of Kirk. Because then you see the lawgivers run in and say, what do we do? What do we do? And Spock is like, they don't know what they're doing because Landru's too busy dealing with you to tell them what to do. They've never had this is the first time in their life they've never had direction.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That's my interpretation, is that Landru is like, absolutely. Don't forget, if the lawgivers are confounded by new information that is contrary to their programming, then Landru would be of the same ilk.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion.
Yes. Makes sense.
You thought wrong, Landru AI. Exactly. We should little Spocko. Let's get a little piece of the action in here.
Oh, Admiral Teague says, so you're saying Corby chooses to identify as a human? That just destroys the idea that he's smart. He says, I am Roger Corby.
Mm-hmm. Don't you see, Christine? Christine, I am Roger Corby. Oh, Roger. That is what his little girl's made of in under 5 seconds.
Mm-hmm. Jay Lewis says, as far as little girls go, at least Kirk didn't talk the Landru computer into kissing him. But he could, says Lenrod.
Are you shipping Landru and Kirk?
Throws the chair at Teague, says Dark Helmet. So my grade for this episode is an A-. I really love this episode. It has sinister predictions on how computer might control the minds of the population. to the point that that'll convince people to rat on each other if anyone deviates from the desired perspective or outlook or programming.
Yes.
It's a terrifying possibility to turn something like the Thought Police from 1984 into something run by computers instead of having to deal with supervised camera surveillance, when you can just tap directly into the subconscious and control it completely. And when there's dissent, you can count on whomever you've already controlled to turn them in, as it happens in this episode. And as AI becomes more and more advanced, we could see this kind of Thought Police happening, if it hasn't already happened already, in social media and the algorithms that decide what needs to be deleted or singled out as something that goes against
The body.
The body. I mean, the diction of that works perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
And read from content to, decide what's acceptable or not, just based on algorithms, which is probably already happening. And Kirk outsmarting computers is just one of my favorite things.
Yes, because he gets so smug about it. I love it. Like, that's what I'm going to love about, and with this one, just in terms of how assertive Kirk is like, you are killing the body. And it's just like, just do it. Will you please turn yourself off? Just turn yourself off. And it's the same thing when we get to M5 and he's just sitting there and he defeats a computer with the question, why? Like 4 times. Why?
Yeah. James Caserta says, "What, Jill? You are spoiled." I am, but how
did you know?
Okay, so Franco Walker says, "We already got that. It's called Twitter." Yes, agreed.
And Twitter needs a Lindstrom.
Yes. Lenrod says, "Brain scanners are a real thing. They've been trial run years ago."
Yeah, like, don't they have that Neuralink that they're talking about, putting computer chips in people's brains, like by volunteer, like you choose it?
Yeah, people choose to put chips in their brains. Yeah, yes.
I don't know. I like using my thumbs. I'll be fine with it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I wouldn't mind like some sunglasses or something, but I don't want to put the computer in my brain.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. I actually, you know what? I've seen enough science fiction to know that I don't want, like, even Total Recall. I don't know. Don't implant things.
Right. And then your perception of reality will be warped no matter what.
Well, remember what happened to Vedic Bareil when they changed half of his brain into a positronic brain. Bad news.
Yeah, and like Bird Prey 5 says, they can see what people are dreaming.
Yes. Wow.
I will be right back.
Take your time. Yes.
Okay, I'll be right back.
Sure. And Lenrod says, "I just want a scouter to read people's power levels." I guess you could get that in Sunclass form. It's like he's a level 12. Yep, level 12. I just combined 12 and 15. Yeah. I'd stay away from the people with the bigger hard drives. I don't know what I'm saying. Yeah, but in terms of that, I don't want to be Roger Corby. I stand with the not Roger Corbys. Hey, and James Caserta says, "That was a good scream. That was a good one. Her lungs are healthy." Darius Munchausen says, "Hail to Antiderivative Jill." I will leave that hanging. And yay. Hey, and a big hello from Rennie to Darius. And Franco says, "My perception is warped enough. I don't need it warped anymore, especially not with batteries." Do you have to change the batteries, or does it just run off of your endothermal something or other? But yeah, I guess I'll give my review of Return of the Archons. I think it's great. It's A+. That's what I put in the poll, which we will have to end eventually. But yeah, I think it's them doing their jobs. I like being thrown into a first contact situation. I assume that Sulu and O'Neill were going to find out what happened to the lost ship of Archon. It never really became crystal clear as to what that was. They do have to go back and look for it, but I didn't know if that's what their initial rationale for being there. Perhaps I missed a captain's log. But yeah, I think it's A+ material showing the birth of the Prime Directive, and having Kirk talk down a computer is one of my favorites. So basically everything that everyone else has said about how much they like this episode, me too. That's the short answer. Oh, and Rennie says, oh, wait, there we are. Rennie gives it, or Rennie says, Tyron and I got married last month, Darius Munchausen, and congratulations, Rennie.
Yes, can't congratulate Rennie and Tyron too much. Congratulations.
And Pop Culture Curator gives it an A+. We are in the same boat, sir.
And thank you for joining us here at the end of the stream, Darius Munchausen. Great to see you.
And so, in terms of the poll, with 34 votes, what a great turnout on the poll. We have A- to A+ at 50%, B- to B+ at 47%, and C- to C+ at 3%. No Fs, no Ds or Fs.
No D's or F's.
Who gave this? Yeah, I don't give a D. I don't give an F. And so Elron says, who gave this episode a C? LOL. Gorilla was here a bit.
Why do you always have to blame Gorilla?
I don't know. He usually lowballs. I'm not trying to be mean.
No, I know. You're right. It's kind of funny to do it though. And Rennie says, thank you guys. Tyron says, thank you as well. And Darius says, congratulations. Rennie, is that why you have an L now? I heard Scotty gives lots of D. Awesome.
All consensual, though.
So, Pop Culture says to hit the like, guys. And also, did you say that he gave it an A+?
Yeah, Pop Culture gave it an A+.
A+. Woohoo. That's great. And also, Franco Walker also gives it an A+.
It's a guy episode. Yeah, there are guys, aside from Runa or a lady.
Yeah,
Tula. I knew it was something like that. Hey, and
I
also
heard that as well. I read it before I read it. Some things get through that way.
And thanks again to the chat. And I do appreciate Skogly, who obviously has been listening. But he posted an image of William Shatner and David Hasselhoff together. And so I do appreciate that. Legends.
Yes, and ending the poll, like Scotty said, 50% gave it an A, 47% a B, and only 2% gave it a C. JD Lewis says, I give this episode an A+. Everybody is working at peak efficiency, both in front and behind the cameras.
Oh, and I forgot, there was one moment where Scotty goes and hits a button and it looks like he moved the panel. And so that was the one thing that I was like, see, it's a set. But that was the only thing I really saw. Although both of those dungeons were, very obviously from Planet Styrofoam.
Yeah, well, I like being there.
Yeah, me too.
They
got out.
Says A+. And yeah, this is pure Trek, and so it makes sense that this was a pilot for the series of Star Trek.
Well, and in terms of rewatchability, this is one that sort of goes under the radar. I don't often revisit it, and so this has been a good one to check out again, and I forgot how much it was good.
Yeah, it's so perfect that we went through it with plenty of time to spare.
Well, and also less people. Like in terms of the panel, because usually Pop Culture's here, and he's very in depth with the Inside Star Trek by Robert Jessman and Herb Solo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Herb Solo. He doesn't think too much of Gene Roddenberry, so I do love to hear from Inside Star Trek, but it is also great to enjoy an episode whose story is by Gene Roddenberry, and I think Gene Roddenberry did a great job coming up with this story, and whoever wrote it did a great job with the teleplay. That's it got it right here. Boris Sobelman did the teleplay. And hello to Stuart Mitchell. Hey. But that's all we have for our review today. Oh, Dark Helmet says, I stopped watching most Trek channels. They're just pushing this new stuff with glee. Oh my goodness, I know. When I try to enjoy a Star Trek video, it's like a lore video, and you think, oh, you're just going to learn about this character. But then they push all the filth right in there, just like it's totally fine. And it's just no fun to watch. I get what you're saying, Dark Helmet. It's
Well,
no fun.
and even before you were going through to check out something
Mhm.
in regards to this specific episode, and you were like, oh no, they get into the filth.
Yeah, well, right. There's Memory Alpha. Memory Alpha does that. It shoves the filth right in there. So you have to be careful when you're on the internet and you're getting information because it's going to be all over the place. And they don't delineate it like they did with the Kelvin verse, like when it was JJ. At least they separated it and said this is the Kelvin universe, this is the Star Trek universe, But now it's all mixed together in this mess. It makes no sense anymore. Gorilla's Random Thought says, fine, redo the poll and I'll change my vote for a B to an F. See, he didn't give the C.
That was my mistake, and I apologize for poorly speaking of your opinion.
And
even if I must anticipate more optimism from you, Gorilla. That is my mistake, and I will correct my feelings.
Yeah, and he's always listening too. Franco Walker says,
keeping me honest is what he's doing.
Great stream. Thank you, Jill and Scott. You're welcome.
Cheers.
And Dark Helmet says, then you'll just hate Steve Shives.
Now there's a name I have not heard in a long time.
That's been a long time since I've been subscribed to that channel. And Sub-Commander Tall says, Memory Alpha is useful, but only to a point. I try to be Gandalf-like and get my info from books. Yes, that is the best way, is to have books. And so that's what I learned from Raquel Briggs, is why I'm reading from the book that she recommended as an authoritative source on the original series.
What's the matter? Don't you like books?
Oh, I like them fine.
Books, young man, books. Thousands.
I demand it. I demand it!
I'm sorry, I got a little quick with my Cogley. You were saying something about books?
Thousands of them. James
learning the true intent.
For fantastic. Oh, and Dark Helmet says, my kid turned 18 today. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Now I understand the chaos.
Yeah. And the Nerdportal Lifeform, everybody's chiming in with this. Steve Shives, that channel, lol, insufferable.
Hey, Nerdportal.
I do try to watch other channels that have a different opinion to my own, but what happens is that they start to attack people who have opinions different than their own, and so it just becomes an unpleasurable experience at that point.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Skogly says, probably the best introduction to Steve Shives is his video on Captain Jellicoe, pure gold, but you better be able to deal with people having different opinions than you. Then, if you can't, then don't bother. Of course, exactly what I was saying. I can do that. I do love to experience other people's opinions, when they're not being derisive.
And Nerdportal Lifeform says, what is festival? I think we established it's kind of the purge. It's Landrew's purge.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's lustful violence.
According to the story.
Mm-hmm. Dark Helmet says, one channel I used to like went complete. Watch Picard season 3. It'll be great. Blah, blah, blah. I shut them off. I know precisely who you're talking about. I feel the same way. And I'm just waiting until I can listen to it again.
Wow.
Oh, JD Lewis says, nap time now. Goodbye, friends. See you soon.
See you, JD Lewis.
I said some things. Admiral Teague says, damn it, now I'm going to demand ketchup again at the deli. Thanks, guys.
Don't just ask for it. Demand it.
Admiral Teague is getting in trouble for this, apparently, in real life.
But someday you're going to meet someone who knows exactly what you're saying, and you're going to be best friends forever.
Mm-hmm. So Commander Tall says, do you ever do TOS streams on any other day than Tuesdays by any chance? No, but if you have a Star Trek topic of any sort that you want to discuss, just send it to my Twitter and we can talk about it on Fridays.
Mhm.
Friday is my other day I stream. So it doesn't have to be a TOS episode. It could be a theme or it could be an episode if but not like the actual episode because I do the reviews here. But we can talk about stuff on Friday if you got something. Skogly says he's something else. Personally, I think it's fascinating.
But I think that the last time I
sometimes-
saw anything by him was the Captain Jellicoe video, and I was like, okay. But I did have like sort of a an opinion of him while I watched
to cherry pick. Like I like some of his Borg stuff too.
it.
And Rennie says, I hate that, Jill. A lot of negative Nancys out there. We can have different opinions and still be friends. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's the way I want to do it. Like, give me your different opinion, but don't tell me I'm a jerk for having mine.
Agreed. And Nerdporial Lifeform says, I'm watching season 3. I'm curious. Same here, Nerdporial.
Yeah.
I did it for season 1 and season 2, and I did not like either, but at least I went in. And this time, because of some, like Robert Meyer Burnett has said that it's good, give it a shot. And I will, if he thinks it's good, his opinion on Star Trek is good enough for me to be curious.
Yeah, but I'd say if you're not reviewing it, you don't need to watch season 3. But if you're one of those people who just has to watch everything just because they put the Star Trek label on it, I can understand that too.
Well,
I
whatever.
I don't watch all of the filth myself.
No, and you didn't, nor must you. Like, it's not homework. This is entertainment. Right. So
I enjoy the conversation most of all.
There's pizza.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Matt G is providing pizza.
Thank you.
For people who want to share the stream. Nerdporial Lifeform says, I managed to start a discussion with a young new TOS viewer. It was a great stream. Oh, that's awesome. Oh, yes. I have that on my watch later. I need to listen to that.
Nice. That's great.
Now people are beneath us. Yes. And Nerdporial Lifeform says, I didn't see season 2. You really don't need to. I only saw 3 episodes from season 2. And I don't plan to watch
it. And Nerdporial, I did see season 2, and you really don't need to.
Thank you. Adam Teague says, Shives loves Strange New Worlds. I enjoyed dissecting his insane reasons, and I really don't want too much of this discussion.
Well, I just don't. I don't like Strange New Worlds, and I'm not subscribed to Steve Shives, so I don't.
Yeah.
Neither the streams nor the episodes interest me.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and. Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah.
And I can live without watching every episode too. All I need is my 735, the 725 episodes and 10 movies of real Star Trek.
And even then, Nemesis is teetering on a cliff.
Yeah, kind of. And I kind of feel like that's what's going to happen with this 3rd season.
But this is the worst part, Jill. What if it makes Nemesis better?
Oh my God.
I know.
Teague says, I have been completed by my boss for working so hard during this podcast. Complimented.
Excellent. We are a stimulant.
Sub-Commander Tall says, I have been pleasantly surprised by the number of young people who seem to like TOS. It has the charm the old black and white movies did for me when I was a kid in the 80s. So yeah, well, I think the original series is timeless. Every time I watch an episode, I say how much this episode is going to last so many generations beyond us.
Well, and also I'm glad that there are young people, and I guess I'm old enough now to say young people that are being drawn to start the original series. And hey, if they caught a whiff of something that was terrible and then they went to the good stuff, then I'm happier for them for checking out the good stuff.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, if it's a gateway to
To the
in
good.
Star Trek. And
Yeah.
that's something. I love you, Linrod. I love you so much. The only new Trek I watch is the Orville. Yes. And I get some people like Prodigy. It is the furthest from Kurtzman that you can possibly get in New Trek, but I still haven't watched it myself, really. Just a couple episodes, so I don't know myself.
It is on my list.
I do know it gets things wrong, and they don't have any Star Trek writers on it, but also that they don't put any animosity or hatred for the franchise that all the rest of the New Trek does. So I don't know. Maybe. So Scotty, I think it's time to go.
That's it?
Yeah. So, but I want to ask you
Hmm.
to promote your channel.
Okay. Typically I go live on the Phantasmagorium show with my friends. This Wednesday we're going to be discussing the Batman animated film Hush, and we're going to be discussing the differences between the book and the animation. And Thursday is going to be a special event on the Phantasmagorium because Jill and I are going to be talking about Groundhog Day on Groundhog Day. And yeah, I don't know what the rest of the week has for us, but I do know next week for you, Jill, you got things going. You got away missions.
Yes, I have away missions for Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So I'll be out for the weekend, but I'll still have this review, Star Trek review on Tuesday. So it's not completely shot.
Oh no, I didn't. A hiatus is welcome.
Yes, exactly. Every once in a while, it is good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking for my YouTube channel links because I still don't have Mr. Brown in here, and I know he was here earlier. Since I have time, I want to post his link.
We do.
Mm-hmm.
You want to race?
Oh, I won already.
You won. Good news.
Mm-hmm. I want to thank everybody for being here. We had a great list of lots of people coming in and out of the stream today.
Yes, there have been so many people from the Nerdporeal Lifeform, Lenrod, Franco Walker, Matt G, Dark Helmet,
John Rendell,
Rennie, and Tyron.
Rennie L. I need to get used to saying Rennie L. I just say A instinctively, but now I gotta start saying Rennie L.
And Bird of Prey, Darius Munchausen,
James Caserta,
Edge of Time,
Skogly,
Admiral T, Gorilla, of course, Gorilla's Random Thoughts, Matt G,
JD Lewis,
Mr. Brown's Alliance, and Not Brian.
Right, Not Brian. He didn't show up often. It was so cool to see him.
It's always nice to see him.
Yeah. Edge of Time and Gorilla. Yes. It's Random Thoughts. He's been posting a bunch of shorts and stuff.
Did I say John Rendell?
Oh, right. Yes. Or I think maybe I did.
And Mr. CCDV. Finity as well, Captain Finity. Lemon Pie. How could I forget?
Yeah, I didn't write these down, so I have to scroll up.
Todd Michael, he said a good after blarg. We got Meringue. We got Snortopoopus.
There was Teddy.
Teddy was here. That's true.
Oh, Snortopoopus. Yeah, that's right. Awesome.
It's just so incredible and awesome that you guys are as big Star Trek fans as we are. And then, of course, pop culture curator.
Captain Finity.
On his own away team mission today. SP4H was also kicking. Susan Dolan, which was great to see.
Oh, yeah. Susan Dolan is so incredibly intelligent. It's great to see her around. She's good at gathering news information.
Herc 130. Hey, Herc, if I missed you, Bird of Prey, if I said you twice, that's how nice.
Mm-hmm.
And also, Admiral Teague, just for the record, it's pronounced Archon. Just so you know.
Yes, but every time in the chat he would spell it Archons, so I pronounced it the way he spelled it.
This is true, which is accurate. You're a better host than I. I would have started a fight at the beginning of the stream.
Yeah, probably. Oh yeah, and PvP said hi first.
PvP was first.
And Lenron wants to know, when's the next late night gaming fun? We never know. I could
What's the
always
name of
do
the
one by
place?
myself, but we're going to Arcadia next, and I want to
Arcadia.
torture Scott. So
Yes.
I gotta wait for him to not want to go to sleep early.
Yes.
And then Dark Helmet says, I still watch you, Jill. When? I can, even though TOS is not really my jam. Oh, well, hey, that's even better. If you're watching the show and you don't even like the original series, maybe it might make you rethink that. You never know. Maybe you might like it. He says, no, I don't hate it. It just didn't resonate with me, says Dark Helmet.
Fair enough.
Mhm. And so I'll leave you guys with the promo for the next episode, which is good timing because I believe my daughter needs me.
Yes.
And Admiral Teague says, you say sabotage, I say sabo.
Tage.
Wow, everybody knows how to pronounce this.
Sabotage. Mr. Shatner, can we do that one again? Don't tell me how to pronounce. It's a regional dialect from Montreal.
Teague, that made me think of Undiscovered Country. Okay, so I'll see you guys next time.
Yes, yes.
Here's a promo for Taste of Armageddon. Have a great Tuesday
Yes. Live long.
and prosper. Peace and contentment.
Are you of the body? Tranquility be with you.
We are one.
Captain's log, stardate 3192.5, planet Eminiar 7. My orders are clear. We must establish diplomatic relations at all cost.
You were warned not to come here.
500,000 people have just been killed.
Our duty now.
Your duty doesn't include stepping into a disintegrator and disappearing.
I'm afraid mine does, Captain.
Sir, there's a multi-legged creature crawling on your shoulder.
You and your party have been declared war casualties. You will be taken immediately to one of our casualty stations so that your deaths may be recorded. If possible, we shall spare your ship, Captain, but its passengers and crew are already dead.
What can I do for you, Jim?
I said, give me the brandy.